Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman, and today I'm going to be doing something very, very, very different. I'm going to be talking about MK Ultra programming. And this is a podcast that a lot of you out there have asked for me to do for quite some time, and I've briefly talked about it when I do my celebrity readings, and so today I decided to really go in. I'm not going to be showing you any kind of pics of MK Ultra because I'm just going to talk about, what it is and how all of us are somehow, controlled or brainwashed in some kind of way at one given time in our life. Now, when we hear the word MK Ultra programming, it is a form of controlling the mind. It is mind control. It is a form of brainwashing. Now, there's a lot of theories and a lot of speculation as to when this actually occurred. A lot of people believe that it happened in the early or the mid 1940s, 1950s, and it was started by the U.S. government, and it was a part of the CIA. They did a lot of experiments on MK Ultra programming and how it would affect people. The subjects that they were testing, and what it would do to them would basically put them in a state of amnesia where they couldn't remember who they were, and kind of retraining the brain in some ways to to do their bidding or to do exactly what they wanted, kind of like creating a human robotic personality or a disassociation. Now there's different a lot of different forms of MK Ultra. Is it still existent today? I guess that's what a lot of people want to know. Does it still exist? The answer is yes, it does exist, and you would be surprised from where it begins. It's everywhere. We are all victims of MK Ultra. Propaganda is the first part. Media outlet. A lot of media outlets will use this in their advertisements. It's everything from maybe a way that a word is pronounced, to a syllable, to a repeating letter. It can also be in the form of a commercial, a jingle. Listening to these fast food commercials advertising their food, and they have a fancy jingle. More recently, it can also be in the form of a song. More recently, that baby shark do 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 baby shark, that song itself. I know a lot of people are saying, well, how can that be programming? But programming is basically anything that starts, stays in your head, and it's kind of you can't forget it. So let's say you're hearing your favorite Drake song, or you're hearing your favorite Ariana Grande song, and these songs stay in your head, stuck forever on repeat. That's kind of how MK Ultra programming exists in today's society. It's not always like people perceive it to be, because I think a lot of people have a misconception that MK Ultra is basically, a group of people in a facility or in a lab, and they have their person checked in, or in a mental hospital, and they have them checked in, and they're have them strapped to a table. They're giving them drugs, and they have a TV playing and something on their head, and they're just going through a whole reprogramming of the brain. That's not how it would work. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't facilities that do this. This is coming from, I'm mixing a lot of psychic insight in with what I know from what I've researched. So this, again, isn't a psychic reading, it's a podcast. But there are facilities that are illegal that exist that do this. And I came across something on the internet. It was on YouTube. It was I can't remember what was the name of it, but it was very eerie. The music that was playing the whole time was very dark, like a horror movie kind of. And the guy that was talking was very monotone, and he was this is the land of this, and this is what you need to do, and when you hear the heartbeat, it was something like that, kind of very monotone, very programming, and when you listen to it, it was about frequencies, and it was supposed to be a person from France that was recording this in English, and they did it, and it was just so so much it reminded me of MK Ultra programming and mind control. In a lot of celebrities, like Marilyn Monroe, the programming has been going on for quite some time. Sometimes a lot of these, when they go through these episodes, a lot of these celebrities, because celebrities find coping mechanisms, or they're exposed to certain things that they may not be aware consciously, but on a subconscious level they are kind of aware of what is going on. And so a lot of celebrities are also dressed a certain way. MK Ultra can also be like the monarch butterfly, like the monarch programming. There's like representation. There's so many facets. Like people that are supposedly MK Ultra programmed, they start identifying with a butterfly, and everything they do is putting a butterfly. Or you'll see a celebrity just using butterfly rings, butterfly tattoos. Everything is butterfly. I've known some people who I was friends with, and they lived in Beverly Hills, and it was a couple, and the guy that I was a friend with eventually was someone that was very spiritual, into holistic practices and whatnot. And then all of a sudden it was all about Disney, and everything that you saw on his page was Disney related. Now, I'm not hating on Walt Disney. I'm not hating on anybody who loves Disney. I love a lot of the characters of Disney, but it was like to the next level, where everything, like this person was going once a week, maybe daily. They lived like right close to Disney World, and so everything was like Disney on their page, whereas it was a normal page before. It wasn't really dedicated to Disney. It was more about their path and their trips, their adventures, etc. And then everything all of a sudden went weird into Disney. And I say weird not because Disney is weird or anything with Disney is weird. It's just like people that just go like in a snap of a flash, into something that they were not known for. All of a sudden something has to trigger that switch, or something is like they're programmed and they may not even know it. You'll see like the sex kitten symbol along a lot of celebrities that are programmed. They will wear the kitten, the leopard print, the ears of a kitten on their head, or they may sport like a ponytail, and like dress to be in an age group that they're not, when they're an adult, made to look like young. So there's a lot of different types of programming that MK Ultra falls under. There is a belief that when a person is under the effects of MK Ultra programming, that their mind is kind of shattered, their personalities. And so it is believed that a lot of people will suffer, that are MK Ultra, will be programmed to have multiple personalities or alter egos. So that a lot of speculation on artists who have their own name, and then they come out with another name that they can identify, or they'll talk about this other person, they'll talk about themselves in the third person, like when so and so comes in, and so I'm this person, or when so and so comes on, I'm no longer here. And it's kind of like you are hearing their conversations and you're asking yourself, what is really going on here? That's really on the level of weird, that you would identify yourself as somebody else living inside your brain. And that's kind of like what MK Ultra programming is. It's everywhere. Like I said, if you listen to music, the lyrics, the things that stick in your head, colors, vibrant colors, and even in spirituality, like sacred geometry, things that we can identify for, or identify to. It can also trickle down into food, things that I really do think that's why a lot of people have certain addictions as well. I'm not giving them an excuse, but an addiction to food or to substances, because a lot of that is programmed from a child. You have to consider how many hours are children now spending on video games, and the video games are very violent in nature, and they're being shown nothing but violence on the TV, or a lot of sexual scenes and things from a child. They see that on the TV. Adults and you barely can, put a TV station or a program on today where you don't find that there's either violence, sexual theme, or there's, just cussing or profanity. There's always something, it's not like it used to be decent. And it was very more family oriented. So a lot of this has changed, and a lot of people, that's why they will, after you see a commercial, a lot of times your mind is being controlled by what we see on the TV. You see a delicious hamburger and the way that it's presented, and you automatically, your mind starts sending a signal to your body that you're hungry, and then you go either now with today's technology to Grubhub, to Favor, or to Uber Eats, all these applications where you can just order at your convenience and have it delivered to you. And so it's like, people are making money this way. I mean, these multi-million dollar companies are definitely program. It's like they're using programming, and they may not even be aware that they're doing it, but it's a marketing. It's called marketing. And that's how MK Ultra is kind of trickling down or evolving into different areas or aspects. And people may not agree with what I'm saying, but really and truly, if you look at things, when you get into cosmetics, a lot of people will see, these YouTubers in the beauty community getting PR, and everybody is, that's getting PR is getting that basically that item to test, and they're creating videos, and then you go and trickle down to YouTube, and you're seeing all kinds of videos of that same product being tested and reviewed. It's very, if you see what I mean, it's kind of like robotic. It's kind of like a pattern, like people follow the crowd. It's almost like lining up a row of dominoes, and once you tip one over, the rest are going to follow, and they're going to fall. So that's kind of like how MK Ultra programming is happening, and I don't feel like it's ever going to really stop. And I do feel like there is danger with all of this. And just look at another good example of MK Ultra. Would be how everyone today, even myself, I'm not exempt from any of this. We are all slaves to our phones, to our cell phones, to social media. How many times, ask yourself, how many times do you feel tempted to go onto your Facebook? How many times do you feel tempted to go into your Instagram? How many times a day are you tempted to check into your Twitter, if you use Twitter? And you'd be surprised that our ancestors who didn't have access to this kind of technology were not obsessive like we are. We live in a culture today that is very obsessive and very much programmed and controlled. Even though we think that we may not be controlled or we're not affected in some kind of way, like I said, we are controlled in everything. Like, designers are kind of telling us what to, unless you're kind of like buying clothes and you're tearing them up and creating your own style from the the designers that are sending out all of these different styles of clothing, these shoes that we wear. Everything is like pre-selected to us. Now, I know you probably are thinking you're mind blown by now. You're saying, well, no, that's not right. That's just the designers. I mean, how would you expect us to get dressed? But if you think about it, these are people that are making decisions for the masses, and then these products are all being produced, mass produced, and then we go and we buy them. We buy them, and then we put them on. And so you have somebody living in Arkansas, and somebody living in Texas, somebody living in Cali, and somebody, and slowly but truly, everybody that had bought that item is now using the same item. Doesn't matter if it's in a different foot size or a different color, but it's in the same motif or the same design. So everything that you see, like when a new release of an iPhone comes out, and all Apple lovers, I'm just using Apple as an example because I'm an Apple lover. I love Apple, but I'm not too addicted to the point where I'm going to buy, like this last year, like I have an iPhone 10 or the iPhone X, and I didn't go and buy the, what is it, the iPhone XS or the the other iPhone that came out recently. I didn't go and upgrade. I was offered to trade in my phone and to upgrade, but I didn't, because you have to ask yourself, to a certain point, it's like, what really changed between updates? Like, this is what I'm talking about: mass marketing, MK Ultra. You may think that, well, that doesn't really, like some of the topics that I'm talking about really doesn't fall into MK Ultra programming, but in reality, it does. A lot of these superstars that are singers that have checked themselves into rehab, and they come out of rehab, you have to ask yourself, like, what was going on in that rehab that made them worse? Because a lot of these celebrities that have gone into rehab actually come out worse than what they actually went in. And what I mean by that is, like, if you see the demeanor when they come out, they're very zombie-like. Their eyes are just dead, drained. Their hair may be disheveled. They may have like more robotic functions, on social media, or just acting besides themselves, whereas you never used to see this person kind of reacting this way. Again, this is called, the MK Ultra programming and the disassociation of the mind, where it's believed that the mind actually shatters, not literally, but in the thought processes and the personalities, and this person may start being easily manipulated or controlled. You could say part of their memory is kind of like erased. In today's mental health, I want to talk about that. When it comes to MK Ultra, people that are in a mental hospital, you'd be surprised the level of treatment that they're given. Shock therapy, electroshock therapy. These are very, and they're also given concoctions of substances to control them, to have control over their mind. It is in my belief, this is just my belief, that when a person is going through electroshock therapy, their mind is being shattered in some kind of way. It's receiving electrical currents, just like a heart. When a heart stops beating, or it's having an irregular beat, and you go and you give it you go and do bring it back to life to try to resuscitate it or to kind of correct the rhythm. They'll use those, I can't remember the name of medical terminology offhand, but you know what I'm talking about. Those two things, they rub together and they kind of, use them on the chest to get an electrical current to your heart so it can start beating again. Well, that's kind of the same thing, that's happening to your mind when they're doing electroshock therapy. So I feel like a lot of these facilities today, what medicine calls, or psychology calls treatment, is actually abusive, and I feel like it's inhumane to shock people. I mean, it's like taking a taser and just holding it up to your brain, in some kind of ways. It's going to hurt your thinking patterns. It's going to leave you zombie-like. So there are facilities out there that may be doing these kind of things, and mental hospitals and things like that really are not humane. And sometimes the families that put their loved ones into these facilities may not know what's really going on, and may be hidden, because a lot of this would really be considered illegal of what is going on as far as this programming is concerned. So yeah, that is in a gist, what MK Ultra programming is. Again, you may not agree. There's a lot of people that have their own opinions of what MK Ultra is, but basically all it boils down to is, mind control, being brainwashed. And so that is what I wanted to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Leave your comments below. Let me know if you've ever had an experience of seeing someone that's MK Ultra programmed, or do you think that somebody is under the effects of MK Ultra? Just let me know what you think in the comments section below. And again, please keep it, civilized. These are just my opinions and thoughts, what I know from, MK Ultra programming, etc., from research, etc. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Psychic Medium Ray. Blessings of love and light. Have an amazing day wherever you are in the world.